The best place to find out about the lives and times of the illustrious historical figure, Harriet Tubman, is in Maryland along the Harriet Tubman Secret Railway Byway. Researchers have been looking for the Maryland house where renowned revolutionary Harriet Tubman lived her early years before escaping slavery for almost 20 years. Yet no. Archaeologists excavating in Maryland have answered a long-standing Harriet Tubman mystery. Do you want to learn more? So be sure to watch the entire video. The coin was discovered by researcher Julie Shablitsky using a detector that detects metal along a dilapidated road in a remote part of Maryland's eastern shore. She removed the muck by digging it through the earth. As she and her team combed the marshy landscape of Dorchester County last autumn, in search of the long-lost location where the renowned secret railroad operator, Harriet Tubman, resided with her immediate family in the early 1800s, they hadn't been uncovering anything. She had been annoyed because there was no indication that she was close to Tubman's father, Ben Ross's house. However, as she washed the coin, an individual's profile with long locks and a cap bearing the word Liberty became apparent. The year 1808 was written at the bottom. State and federal authorities declared on the morning of Tuesday that Shablitsky, helped partially by the currency, thinks she had located the location where Tubman resided with both of her parents and several siblings throughout her formative adolescence before she managed to flee slavery. Experts claimed that it was the location of a long-gone cabin that had formerly served as Tubman's childhood residence. Her father was the owner of the undefined structure. He was an enslaved forest foreman and carpenter who was given Liberty, the home he lived in, and a plot of land close to the Blackstone River by his master. According to officials, bricks, datable 19th century ceramic fragments, buttons, drawer pulls, pipe stems, ancient documents, and the location all indicated the spot was probably that of the Ben Ross cottage. At the Harriet Tubman Slave Railroad Visitor Center in Church Creek, Maryland, the news was made at 10 a.m. Researchers claimed the discovery is an important part of Tubman's narrative. It also sheds light on how her relatives and father helped her grow into the fearless leader of the hidden railroad that she eventually became. During the Civil War, countless people in slavery were freed from servitude in the South thanks to the underground network of leaders like Tubman and safe homes in the eastern part of the country. According to historians, between 1850 and 1860, Tubman made 13 visits home while evading capture and freeing 70 people. Her parents and several brothers, who had been no longer enslaved but in danger in Maryland, were among the people she saved. According to experts, Tubman's father was a pious patriarch who battled to keep his extended family united within the framework of slavery and taught Tubman the customs of the marshy woods where they resided. When he was free, Ben bought his slave spouse, Rit, and for a while housed Tubman and a few of her siblings in his house in what is currently the federal Blackwater Regional Wildlife Refuge, south of Cambridge, Maryland. At the time, they were all still held captive. Tubman historian Kate Clifford Larson said in a message, "Think of it as an environment where Harriet came of age in an affectionate family within a close-knit community." According to Larson, that environment became her school. Those years she spent with her biological father were essential to Harriet Tubman's upbringing. The State Road Administration of Maryland's Shablitsky, an archaeologist, stated, "A lot of us assume we know everything about Harriet Tubman. This finding indicates that we don't and are given a chance to comprehend her as an older adult who helped people achieve freedom and as a young person." According to refuge manager Marcia Pradines, the project got underway a year ago when the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service paid $6 million for a 2,600-acre parcel next to Blackstone to replace refuge sites previously lost to rising sea levels. Pradines claimed to have learned that the Ben Ross house may have been located in the plot and contacted Maryland authorities to inquire about the possibility of an archaeological dig. Shablitsky declared her interest, but she was aware of the difficulty in determining where to go and how to determine whether a place might be Ross's. The starting point was a crude copy of old records. Over 1,000 test pits were dug in the area by Shablitsky and her crew last autumn. She had feared the discovery of a large number of unrelated artifacts. But nothing was discovered as they dug. "We were essentially turning up with nothing," she added. "I wonder where this location is. Where the heck is this location?" The majority of what was discovered was dripping wet mud, she claimed, and the region was frequently flooded and occasionally impassable. She desperately began using a metal detector to wander along an ancient road. A shotgun round, a knife sheath, and more were discovered. "I pulled it out of the soil thinking I would eventually get a rifle shell," she admitted. "The coin was there. When I examined the time, I didn't believe it," she remarked. It truly was a eureka moment. She stated the cabin would eventually be around a quarter of a mile beyond where the coin was discovered. On the other hand, it told us that we'd been on the correct path because we were becoming closer. The research team decided to come back in March to conduct a complete study when a few additional artifacts were discovered near the conclusion of the dig. More artifacts started to show up last month as they delved. Further, she added pieces of brick, corroded nails, and ceramic pieces with potentially datable motifs. She said several patterns belonged to the 1820s, 1830s, and 1840s time period. "We had our moment at that time," she remarked. "At that point, we realized that this was it, since it couldn't possibly be elsewhere. Everything else that belonged to that era was present. Records, geography, and artifacts all came together in the end," she claimed. "More than one artifact indicates that there is something there. The group is what it is. It's the many parts." According to Kate Clifford Larson's biography, Bound for the Promised Land, Harriet Tubman was born Araminta Minty Ross in 1822 outside the small town of Tobacco Stick, Contemporary Times, Madison, in Dorchester County. She was the youngest of 9 kids, slept in a Sweetcomb log cradle, and by the moment she was 6, her parents had hired her out to work. According to the coin's date, her slaveholding ancestors had weighed in or around 1808. When Tubman was a child, his mistress whipped him while she slept using a whip beneath her head pillow. She started working outside, partly thanks to her father's guidance. She used an organization of oxen that she was subsequently allowed to buy to move logs, check muskrat traps, and break flax. Despite being just 5 feet tall, she was strong because of her labor. She had the opportunity to reside in her father's cabin between 1839 and 1844, between the ages of 17 and 22, thanks to her knowledge, which also offered her a certain degree of movement, according to Larson. In a single conversation, Larson stated she got a place to stay with him, work in the forest with him. He was a devoted parent and an excellent figure, she recalled. He showed her how to live. She developed her survival skills in those woods. She mastered the art of reading the night sky. He gave her lessons that shaped the lady she was to be. Additionally, he educated her on the secret railroad. Larson said that he was an agent of the Underground Railroad himself. She would John Tubman in 1844. She relocated, adopted the name Harriet, and assumed the identity of Harriet Tubman. She escaped in the autumn of 1849 out of fear of being sold, eventually returning to guide people on the hidden railway. She returned over Christmas in 1854 to save 2 siblings and a few others. The location of the meeting was in front of a house in Caroline County, Maryland, where both of her parents had recently relocated. Rit, the siblings' mother, was kept in the dark out of concern that she would cause an uproar, according to Larson. Ben offered them nourishment, but they did let him know. Ben avoided glancing at his kids, so he later claimed to slave catchers that he hadn't seen them. He used a handkerchief to blindfold himself on Christmas Eve. According to Larson, he started their adventure by walking with his kids, carrying his son on each arm. A short distance later, he paused and bid goodbye. He waited until he couldn't hear what they were doing in the pitch blackness. Harriet returned to her biological parents 3 years later. That was all from our side. Hope you liked the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more interesting content.